All right, let's get the actual game going. Hey everyone, I'm Truman. This is Super Mario World 96 Exit.
I'm Author Blues.
And I'm Fiddle.
All right, you ready on time?
Probably.
Let's hope.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, so this is Super Mario World. If you've never seen this game, sorry.
That'll be sort of my role throughout the commentary. I'll be asking the questions that a lot of the audience might have.
Yeah, this is a grown adult who's never seen Super Mario World yet, so.
Oh, I've played it as like a kid. Never speedrun it.
So Truman is a really talented speedrunner of this game. This game has gone through a lot of improvements over my 6 years of speedrunning. The world record for this game is now a really, really ambitious 122. Truman is one of those top times on the leaderboard. Really killer, and this is a really exciting way to start off Calithon, being able to show off a game that we're really excited about. He just got a 361 on the clock, which is kind of a meme, but this game actually has a fairly challenging start to it. You get a cape fairly early on in this game, which has a lot of really interesting tech associated with it, but all of the early levels you obviously don't get the cape until you get out of the intro to this game. And so these early levels actually do tend to be a little more challenging for that reason. Once we hit the cape, we get to easy mode, so. He's actually prioritizing running on all those brown platforms, trying to give himself just a little bit of edge.
All right, I didn't die in World 1 yet.
Yet.
Well, that's good.
You have 2 levels left. I would not be brave enough to say that sentence out loud.
Oh no, I'm going to regret it.
This game, it has sort of a reputation for being a relatively easy speedrun to start off with, but it actually has a lot of depth to it that makes it really interesting. And Truman is really talented at this game, and fortunately will be able to show off a lot of the really cool tricks in this game. Whether or not he's able to pull them all off first try, there's actually a lot of really deep, cool tricks that hopefully I'll get a chance to talk about, and Truman will get a chance to show off that should make a pretty entertaining opportunity here. So the premise of this game is that Yoshi's eggs have all gotten stolen. I don't know where his eggs came from, but they've all been stolen. There's one hidden in each castle, and we're going through castle by castle retrieving them. I don't think anyone in the history of commentating this game has ever tried to talk about the story because it's a Mario game. But just for those of you who don't know, Yoshi's eggs have all gone missing, and we're rescuing them.
I feel like with most Mario games, it's all about rescuing Peach. There's a bit of difference with this one.
Yeah, I guess Peach is in this one.
And she sort of just shows up there at the end.
Yeah. So is there any particular reason that he's throwing all those seeds at the very edge of the level?
Yeah, so there's a really long auto-scroller right before the very first boss, and it's really easy to get bored, so I think he's just having a little bit of fun
so
there.
Yeah, it doesn't really save any time. Just
Okay,
spamming fire
well.
off the side. Thank you.
I don't know how the egg is talking, but
It's very advanced for its age.
Yeah, I think there's something in there that's probably saying it.
So there's a few worlds in this game where there's a lot of different stages and different paths you can take through it, and Truman's going to be doing the 96 exit category, which, if you're not aware of what that means, there's actually multiple ways to beat each of the levels, all 74 levels in this game, and so he's going to be beating not just every level, but he's going to be beating every exit of every level. So he's going to be doing some of these stages multiple times. And you may notice as you watch this, he's not going to complete all of the worlds on his first approach, because there's actually going to be an opportunity for him later to revisit some of these worlds. And so here he's only going to beat a handful of the levels in World 2, but he'll have a second pass at it later to actually cover these levels. This is the first Mario game that actually had interesting water physics, but still a water level, so we're not allowed to like it. He's going to be taking a quick dip into this side room here to pick up a shell. It actually doesn't save as much time as it looks like, because it takes time for him to go through the pipe and go through this room. Even though he does move forward a little bit and he swims faster with the pipe, with the shell, it actually only saves about a half a second in this level to get the shell at all. He's swimming under the level here. There's actually a little bit of a gap in between the bottom of the stage and the kill plane. So he can swim under there safely, especially considering holding an item tries to sort of push you up. It keeps it safe.
We got time for a quick donation?
Absolutely.
Awesome, because we have a $1,000 donation from BK.
Oh,
Thanks, BK.
thanks, BK.
And it just says E.
E.
BK is a friend of the Super Mario World community. Thanks so much for your donation.
We've also got a $25 donation from Halfkey, which says dog. We've got a $75 donation from Oasis, which says, "Hey all, hope everyone is ready to have a nice cozy weekend with speedrunning and raising money for direct relief. Putting my money towards singing Going the Distance, because who doesn't want to find their heroes welcome right where they belong? Shout out to my friends Author Blues and Skybills."
Thanks, Oasis. So there's one thing you'll sort of notice over and over that he's going to be doing again and again, and one of those things is that the cape is actually a really powerful tool, not just for flying through the stages, but also if you hit an enemy while you're flying in the right way, you can actually take damage but without losing any of your power-ups, and you go into this invulnerable state for just a moment. He'll actually be using that a lot in the run, and there's some really clever usages of that throughout. So.
You may have also noticed that none of the bosses really do that much.
Yeah, this game doesn't have particularly interesting bosses. None of them pose a particular challenge.
Yeah, I've heard Truman say that the bosses are the easiest part, which is not something you hear about a lot of games.
Yeah, it really feels like it took a turn. You know, I guess Super Mario Bros. 1, you could go either way on the constant encounters with Bowser, but Super Mario Bros. 2 and Super Mario Bros. 3 both have, I would say, relatively challenging bosses comparatively. But this one's just jump on everyone's head 3 times and no one really puts up much of a fight. So. He did a little crouch there when he was on the ground. He wanted to kill off the chances that he might take off when he jumped. That's something that you also have to be really careful of in this game. Super Mario Bros. 3 introduced the idea of P-speed and a flight meter with it, and so in this game we actually have to make a lot of use of that. We have to make use of the way that when you're running you can go into a flight state, and when you land that doesn't necessarily mean you're done flying, because if you jump again you could instantly start flying again.
That was really scary right there. I had to do a backup.
Yeah, he actually managed to fly through the ghost ring without taking a cape cancel. So here's Super Mario World's reputation of just flying through every level. It's actually not as often as people think it is, and in a lot of these cases, even flying through a level can be kind of challenging, like gaining the appropriate height to fly over pipes in that case.
See, I just did that on purpose to show that off.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, I think you got it from here then. I think I'll just sit back.
No problem.
Even in stages like this one where you do end up flying through a lot of it, just the process of figuring out how you're going to take off at the beginning of the level can be really challenging. There's also relatively minor speed tech throughout this game of trying to figure out what your flight speed is. This game is really weird about the way it calculates Mario's speed, and it's actually measured in sub-pixels per second, not even pixels per second. And so the really topmost level of runners actually try to figure out how to adjust their flight speed in midair to be the fastest possible speed. It makes a very small difference, but if you add it up over the entire run, it really does make a pretty significant difference.
Oh yeah, top speed's about 51 subpixels per frame, so whatever that is in per second is what you're aiming for.
Right. Yeah, it's the difference between 47 subpixels and 51, so I mean it gets pretty specific. So he's going to be grabbing a Yoshi here for a trick that he's going to be doing in a few stages, and actually we're going to be making use of Yoshi several times throughout the next world to pull off some cool tricks. This run so far, by the way, may seem relatively vanilla. It's been kind of straightforward, more or less what you'd expect from Super Mario World if you've never seen a speedrun, but in the next world that's going to change relatively significantly. We're going to be starting to do some glitches.
Ugh.
Those of you who are glitch-averse,
Sorry.
there's the exit. So this stage is relatively technical. He wants to keep his flight all the way through the level so he can keep flying up it, which is non-trivial. It actually takes a lot of practice to get good at flying up this whole stage, and it saves quite a lot of time on the cycles that he has here. Well done.
Well done. He never seems to have trouble with this boss.
Yeah, 2 fireballs and a jump, and he's dead, so.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the first 2 fireballs each count as their own hit, but after that you have to actually stomp on them.
We have a $30 donation from Anonymous, which says, "Go Truman, go!"
I'm going.
Go faster. We have a $5 donation from Lookouts Girl, no comment, and a $5 donation from Unphobic, which says, "Greetings from the audience. This is my first time attending Calithon, and a positive atmosphere is overwhelming. I wish all the runners the best luck on their runs."
So this stage is really our first opportunity to see some tricks that are really cool in this game. He's going to be doing a really quick process here to try to generate Yoshi wings, and that's going to involve...
Ooh, well done.
He's too fast for
my
me to talk about.
Well done.
That was incredibly fast at that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I watched him practice that, and that is the greatest I've seen him do it.
So here he's going to be trying to use this Yoshi actually to get out of bounds, and this is something that's going to be relatively common throughout this run, is using Yoshi to get out of bounds. Getting into the wall is the part that Truman has control over, so him getting into the wall that consistently is really good. Getting through the wall is more or less random, so, I mean, the fact that he got it on a second try is really, really good. Is it good commentary if I say I'm disappointed you didn't do the fast strat there?
Oh yeah, feel free.
All right, yeah, I'm really disappointed you didn't do the fast strat there.
Thought you told
Hey.
me you'd try everything.
All right, no yump. We got 3 more chances.
So this world's going to be all about him getting Yoshi back as often as possible and using it to do some new trick in each and every level. The first level, we saw him generating fake Yoshi wings to end the level early. The second one, we saw him using Yoshi to get through that wall. And in a later level, we're going to see him using Yoshi to actually skip some sections of what should essentially be an auto-scroller. What you saw him doing right there was actually holding onto that shell. The Buzzy Beetle shells wake back up on a timer. And if you just hold it, it'll wake up and damage you. But he was trying to repeatedly drop it, stun it again by hitting it with his cape. Sticky fly. Nice one.
Yeah, that doesn't really save any time. It just sort of invalidates that last section of the level.
Yeah, that part of the level should have been harder, but... Honestly, I'm starting to see what people are talking about when they say that glitches are cheating. That's okay, I'll give you a pass on that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So how difficult is it with a cape to go through an enemy without losing your cape?
You have to be in certain states. Like, you can still take damage doing that, but for the most part, running into an enemy or something like that while you're in the air, it's pretty safe and is actually used in a lot of cases to get through some big obstacle. If you can find a way to get into a flying state, you can usually just use that to just boost right through it. This stage is probably one of the more technical ones in the run. I'd say that this is a big block for runners, getting a good time in this stage, enough so that you can sort of progress with the run. Right here, he's trying to get what we refer to as P-speed, flight. He's trying to fill up his flight meter so that he can take off right there and skip that first raft.
Yeah, what about the second one, though?
So Truman has promised me that he's going to go for a trick here, and I guess I'm sort of obligating him to do it, whether he was planning on bailing out or not. But he's going to be doing a trick called raft skip right here. So for those of you who... All right, I believe in you. Oh.
Aww.
All right. The trick he was trying to do right there is really, really challenging. You have to hit all 4 face buttons in sort of a precise order for different purposes. And the idea there is to get Yoshi into sort of a glitch state where he can fly while riding Yoshi. It's a very strange sort of trick, but it's cool when you can pull it off, but it's really tough.
Yeah, I'm just going to go back and get a shroom.
I don't blame you. Yeah, there's a relatively easy cape he can get back in the level he was at. But he needs a mushroom to be able to get to it. The risk with that trick is that if anything goes wrong, it can be really tough to recover from it, because at that point you've already thrown away the raft and are just sort of hovering over lava. So
I got the diagonal Mario frame there.
So now we get to ride the raft. This is what we were trying to skip.
Yeah, as you can tell, this is not very fast. But, you know, it's about the journey.
Of course.
The trick he was trying to do there is one of those ones where there's a lot of pieces to it that can go wrong. And unfortunately, he probably had the setup just right, but there's one piece that you have to get exactly right, and that's timing it so that you're right underneath the ceiling, and he wasn't. But we're back on track.
We're back in cape mode.
Easy mode resumed. So he wants to hold on to this Yoshi just a little bit longer, because as soon as he gets through this castle, there's one more stage that has Yoshi wings he can make use of. Unfortunately, if you have Cape and you have Yoshi, you can't really fly in the normal way unless you try to do some glitches. So he's having to repeatedly land on the ground over and over again and take off again. You have a little bit of time for a few donations if you got any.
For sure. If you are donating, just a reminder to put your donation towards an incentive on Tiltify. You have to do so before you donate. There's 2 incentives coming up for Shovel Knight. Pet the Dog, which needs $175, and the Tower minigame, which needs $775. And if you would like to see those met, please put your donation towards them. We have $10 from TNT, which says, "Hey Truman, happy to see you repping SMW for a great cause. I enjoy the hat."
Thank you, TNT.
We all showed up for the hat.
We have $50 from AirNick15, which says, "Just beat this game for the first time this week with my girlfriend. It definitely took us longer than an hour and a half. This run is insane. Best of luck, Truman."
Thank you.
I will say for people who are watching at home, if you're sort of thinking to yourself, man, I'd love to get into speedrunning, but I really wouldn't know where to start. Super Mario World is a pretty good option. If I can do my elevator pitch for you for just a moment. It's a really easy game to get into, but it's got a lot of depth to get better at. And I think that's one of the things that makes this game a really good gateway into speedrunning.
Oh yeah, for sure. We actually just redid sort of our wiki. It's now at smwspeedruns.com, and it's got a lot of good tutorials and guides for everything.
Yeah, it's really, really easy to pick up this run and play it at a pretty competent level from the start. And from there, there's still a lot of room to grow. So.
I know when I took a look at the tutorials, I was able to very easily get a 3.5 hour time, so
nice.
It's not too bad.
Well, that's still better than the slowest time on our leaderboard, I think.
I call that winning.
Yeah. This is a very difficult level he has to do. He has to bounce against each of these saws without missing one. So a really precise strat for that is just jump and hold the jump button, and it all lines up.
So why did he leave the Yoshi behind there?
Because it is no longer useful for him. A Yoshi is a tool, not a friend.
Well, that's a sad way to think about things.
Yeah.
I'm getting angry
some dirty
looks.
looks from over there behind the camera.
Yeah, normally I would use them in this level to do a trick, but I need a Fire Flower to do it, so unfortunately I can't. But we've got a couple more opportunities in later levels for the same trick.
This is probably I'm not personally familiar, but is this the harder of the? Well, I guess this is now not the hardest one. The hardest one is in Awesome now, but
I'd actually say this is harder than Awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the hardest one to do.
Okay, so you got thankfully bailed out of doing the hard one.
Yeah. What a relief.
We have a $15 donation from Tori, Ben, and Jackson, which says, "So proud of you, Truman. Love, Tori, Ben, and Jackson. P.S. Your mom is so proud of you, too."
Thank you, Tori, and the whole family.
And we have 2 donations from Mr. Homeless Hobo, which says, "Hey you, you're finally awake. You were trying to cross the border, right? Walked right into that Imperial ambush, same as us. And that thief over there. Darn you, Stormcloaks. Skyrim was fine until you came along. Konosumi was nice and lazy. If they hadn't been looking for you, I could have donated." And another $50 one, which says, "My friend Konosumi wrote this poem. In spring, a man built a pillar. In summer, another. In autumn, they held, but in winter, one fell."
So now we're breaking from the trend of going over levels by going under levels.
This is actually a really, really frustrating and challenging level to play as fast as possible if you don't go under it. And am I just thankful that you get to go under the whole thing.
Yeah, shoutouts to Torpedo Teds, though, for the short time we get to see him.
This is the only level they appear in, right?
I think there might be in some sub-levels, but
Oh, that's
who
true.
who counts those?
That's true. It's the only time we'll see them in the speedrun, at least.
I'm gonna wait down here for a sec. I got out of sync with the torpedoes.
How many people have looked away from the screen right at the end there and just fallen into the water?
Well, there's this guy named Meebrams, but
Okay.
we don't like to talk about him.
All right.
Oof.
So only one ever would make that mistake.
Yeah, I think the only one in the history of the human race has done that. Good thing we didn't name him or anything.
Goodbye, Yoshi.
That was a tough level. So this is Star World. We're kind of making our way into Special World as quickly as possible. They're supposed to be the hardest levels in the game, and thanks to all the tricks he's going to end up doing, some of them are actually quite difficult. And it kind of makes for an interesting, if you were to graph how difficult this game is across the length of the whole run, rather than like usual, it starts out pretty easy and ends up pretty hard. There's like this one spike right in the middle, and then it gets easy again.
Yeah, some of the levels we do make harder on ourselves with the tricks we do, but most of it you can sort of do in an unintended way.
So the gimmick for Star World is that the easy exit to find always takes you backwards. If you want to go forward, you have to find the actual exit. So if you're playing this casually or something, you'd have to hunt down those keys and find the keyhole for them. But because this is 96 exit, we actually have to do both of them anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Just a quick reminder, we do have a bid war coming up for Shovel Knight for the costume, armor color palette. You can pick between orange, dark green, teal, purple, and cotton candy pink. That one is my favorite.
If you're having a hard time picking, I recommend pink.
Definitely. Looks pretty hot.
So, for those question boxes that are on the ground, if you don't have a cape, what's the best way to get them open? Do you have to like stomp on them, or
Oh, are you talking about the like the red ones that were at the bottom?
where he got the key from?
Oh, yeah, you would have to use a cape, or you would need to bring a shell down there to throw at the box. So this next level is all about sort of digging through blocks, but he's going to be using a pretty cool trick to just zip right through them. The game can only actually have 4 blocks spinning at a time, so if one new one starts spinning, it stops the oldest one from spinning, so that only 4 are active at any one time. And so it's kind of a cool trick where if you have a cape, you can start enough blocks spinning that you close them on yourself and get thrown down through the giant stack of blocks.
Yeah, despite how they look, zips are actually probably one of the most inconsistent tricks in the entire run.
Yeah, they're one of those things that if someone explains to you how to do it, you can make it happen, but actually learning to control it's really challenging. It makes a huge difference in the really short 11 exit category, because this level, all you have to do is the part he's doing right here. Just the very top and then getting to that key. But being able to do that really quickly makes a huge difference between, a top runner and a middle level runner. You can lose, a few seconds, which makes a huge difference.
We've got a $20 donation from Dennison, which says, round 96 versus Bowser. Go! Go Truman.
Go Dennison.
We have a $5 donation from Bic Fong, which says, hi Truman, miss sharing donuts with you.
Hi, Vic. Missed that too. He's a California speedrunner, actually. Huge community here in California.
We have $5 from Bud Spencer, which says, "Thanks for the stream. I'll get my SNES out of the basement this weekend and play for the first time with my son, Noel, 10 years old."
Right, so we're going to need this guy for the next 6 or so levels, because he makes basically every glitch possible.
It also helps that the blue Yoshi in this game, whenever he eats a shell, gets the ability to fly. So that's going to give him some nice control, but also at the same time, it's not going to be the end of it because he's actually going to use that Yoshi for a lot of things.
We've got a $25 donation from Dan, which says, "Good luck, buddy. Don't get Paco'd on special. I'll donate again during Chocolate Secret."
I will really try not to get Paco'd in special. And I'll let you know if it happens, although you probably will just know.
So most of the levels in Special here actually have some pretty cool strats to them. They're challenging, but they are really interesting levels for separating a really skilled runner like Truman from, someone like me. So he's going to be doing the same thing he did previously. He's going to be trying to duplicate a block over this Yoshi coin and actually manipulates that block into containing Yoshi wings. That was extremely fast, by the way. He couldn't have really done that much faster than that. He duplicated those blocks very quickly, which is a really narrow frame window to pull that off. Here he's going to be trying to do the same thing. That block right there could contain Yoshi wings if it were one block to the left. So he's going to make it be one block to the left.
Good start.
This is a relatively straightforward level, I mean, in terms of compared to all the cool tricks that he's doing in all the other ones. But actually, figuring out how to fly through this level with Yoshi without losing him is kind of an interesting, it takes some learning.
Yeah, shockingly, this one has real Yoshi wings.
It's one of like 2 real Yoshi wings we do in the entire game, right?
3, I think.
3, yeah. So he's going here for a relatively new boss kill strat. Okay.
Got it.
I don't even know how to begin describing what just happened there.
I was just going to ask, what was that?
Okay, so the gist of it is you spawn an invisible Reznor, a boss we haven't seen yet, and that sort of occupies the same slot as Yoshi's tongue in the game's memory. So as soon as you cause Yoshi's tongue to exist, the Reznor disappears. And that counts as beating the level.
Yeah. So that's kind of what happened,
Well,
I guess.
You heard it here.
He's going to be doing something very similar here. He's going to be causing a unnamed Koopa Kid to exist.
I didn't get it. See, these tricks are very finicky. Like, I was too far left there, and so he just didn't exist, the boss that I was trying to kill.
Yeah, the idea there was he was going to cause an unnamed Koopa Kid to exist and then hit it with 12 fireballs, and that would kill it, which would have ended the level slightly faster.
I'm glad I got one of the boss kills, though. That was the trick I was not able to do because I didn't have the Fire Flower earlier. So that's one of the newest tech we have in this game, so I'm glad I got to show it off.
I forgot how hard this game is to commentate. It's like some of the stuff, I don't know, I gotta shrug my shoulders at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really easy to explain killing an invisible boss no one can see.
And making it exist in the first place.
Yeah, so you got a moment here if you want to drop a few donations.
For sure. We got $20 from Glitchcat, which just says, "I agree with Truman."
I agree with Glitchcat.
I don't know what we're
There's so
agreeing
much
upon,
agreement
but
here, and I love it.
yeah, it's positive. It's nice positive energy.
See, after the first 6 or so levels of Special World being insane and, skipping all of them, You just end with a couple flyovers, so classic SMW.
Yeah, this level right here is actually one of the hardest levels in the no cape categories because you can't fly over it. It's hard to defend this game sometimes when people talk about flying over levels because it's like, yeah, that is something that happens in a percentage of the levels. But honestly, I don't think a lot of people would run this category if you couldn't just fly over this level. It takes a certain amount of madness to be willing to play this level without a cape.
And by the way, also just a quick reminder that we have 3 incentives coming up for Shovel Knight. Pet the Dog, which needs $145. The Tower minigame, which still needs $775. And the Armor Color Palette, which doesn't currently have any donations towards it. If you want to snipe that, feel free. As little as $5 right now could get your color of choice. So make sure you get your donations in for those.
Everyone just wants to see him pet the dog.
And we have $50 from Picante, which says, "Go Truman, go!"
You are super player.
Exclamation point, exclamation point. And we're out of special.
So this is what we were talking about earlier. He didn't really have to complete those worlds before because as soon as he exits Special World, he's going to be back to the beginning of the map. So he's going to use this as an opportunity to clean up some of the stuff he forgot. Don't let him fool you. He absolutely forgot this stuff.
Was that bullet bill there before?
Mm-hmm. But like a real big one, and he was angry too.
We've got $100 from Deucler, which says, "Hello to some of my favorite dudes. Go fast. Truman, be kind to Yoshi. He doesn't forget."
Every time you're mean to Yoshi in this game, Yoshi lets Baby Mario get carried off in Yoshi's Island. So he's going to attempt one more time to get a jump. A good video gamer would hit the jump button when he gets onto the switch here and jump off of it one more time.
Is there any? Does it help you in any way, or is
Yeah,
that
it's way faster.
Saves 30 minutes.
There's about 30 minutes on the run.
Do you remember what this mountain's called that we're climbing down in a sec?
I do. Do you remember?
Yeah, I think it's called Kappa Mountain,
That's true.
officially.
It is actually called Kappa Mountain. Unfortunately, you can't tell that to Twitch chat because...
I mean, who knows what they do. Yeah, now this is just a little cleanup part of the game to get all the exits I didn't do the first time.
Also, you missed some coins, so...
Thought this was a 96 no coin.
By the way, Twitch chat seems to be spamming T-pose for some reason. I guess that's the funny emote to go with. Oh, wait, no. There's some dude's face. I don't know.
Not sure if I approve of this new Twitch counterculture. So yeah, we've got an auto-scroller here, so you can go to town for a while.
Alrighty, sounds good. So for those of you who are just tuning in, we are Calithon 2019, which benefits Direct Relief, a humanitarian aid organization active in all 50 states and more than 80 countries with a mission to improve health and the lives of people affected by poverty or emergencies without regard to politics, religion, or ability to pay. Basically, they help people who need help, and what is better than helping people who need help? We have a $20 donation from He Who Is Pale, with no comment. I'm pretty sure that was me. It actually definitely was not me, but thank you very much. And just a reminder that we have a bunch of upcoming donation incentives, a couple for Metroid Prime as well, for Fusion Suit versus Default Suit. Currently nothing put towards that. Fusion Suit is really ugly, so definitely go for that one. And we need $490 for the Metroid Prime Exo Boss Skip.
He has another opportunity for a yump here. Just a reminder that all you have to do is hit the button, Truman.
Saves half an hour, in your own words.
All right, I take back the mean things that I said for the past 40 minutes.
Well, I mean, now that I saved half an hour, this is world record pace, so
It's true.
nobody's ever gotten that trick before. We get rewarded with another auto-scroller. Well, actually the same auto-scroller, but...
This is the little lull in the run.
Yeah, second half of World 2, other half of World 3, and World 4 are all sort of just
Think of all the
filler.
high octane action that's been happening, and now you have to sit with this in the middle of the run. Though for a runner, it's kind of a nice little break after you've just gotten through Special World. Like, how are you going to lose time on watching the screen scroll itself, right? There is a little trick you can do here that I will point out, and that's because of the really weird way that the flight timer in this game works. Once you've taken off the ground, there's like a timer that counts down, and if for some reason you touch the ground and jump again, you still technically count as if you're flying. And because of the way that works, when he goes through this pipe, the flight timer is still active, so all he has to do is jump and he just instantly gets to fly. There, I just explained the one trick in this 3-minute hell.
Luckily, we've only got a couple more auto-scrollers. And they're pretty spread out now.
There's one more ugly one in a little while, but...
Yeah, the other one that isn't the ugly one is pretty short.
So we've been here before, but this time he's going to fly up to sort of a hidden door. The ghost houses are all sort of meant to be puzzles and mazes, and turns out that the door that you need to exit's like right above you there, so you can just fly straight up to it. Usually you'd have to go through a series of doors to end up getting a vine, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I actually know the way to beat that normally.
Speedrunners. Yo, he got red block thing.
Yeah, so we named that trick Red Block Thing because apparently none of us are creative at all. But, you know, you take off the red blocks and beat the level.
These levels throughout the rest of this world, and when he gets up to the castle at the top, these are all a really nice lull in the speedrun. You know, we joke about this game being relatively easy, but there's actually a lot of back-to-back frustrating reset-prone tricks in Special World, and this does sort of represent a nice little break, especially if you've been driven crazy by all of those levels in a row and you're just excited that you finally got through them for the first time in 6 days.
Yeah, and this really is a break because sort of after this, you get a lot of platforming stages in a row once you hit endgame, and, you know, it's just sort of nice to mentally regather yourself during this part of the run.
I love how there was one football player just standing there right before the exit.
He'll get you.
Be so sad to die right there.
A fun part of the Super Mario World community is that if there is some way that would be unlikely for you to die, someone in our community has died to that at one point or another, and it ends up sort of getting associated with you. I mean, we already picked on Brams because he died in the hole that no one has ever died in before, and
Yeah, I think we've passed most instances of Trumaning it, which there are a couple. Yeah, I try not to bring them up until we're already past them, though.
you'd hate to repeat that nightmare.
Yeah. And this next level features everyone's favorite, not enemy, except actually it's the worst thing in the game, dolphins.
And the one piece of trivia that everyone seems to know about this game is that in the Japanese version, Yoshi can actually eat the dolphins, but he can't in the American version. If you didn't already know that piece of trivia, impress your friends. It's kind of amazing. This game has 4 fortresses in it, and the boss of the fortresses are always Reznor. In the Japanese version, it's Bui Bui, but in the American version, they're named Reznor. And it's amazing that it's this far into the run, and this is actually the first time we encounter it. All the fortresses are either on side paths or at the end of the game.
Yeah, this is actually about what I always call the halfway point of the run, time-wise. It's probably a little more than that, but it's a good place to sort of cut it off.
So there's a lot of ways to kill this boss, but doing it quickly can be fairly challenging. As you can see here, Truman's just gonna go for it.
Yeah, he sort of didn't like me there, but usually the fireball hitboxes are terrible enough to dodge.
It was it was a little bit spooky there. He shot that fireball, and I thought you were a goner. I was really worried for you, Truman.
Thank you, I'm sure it'll, you know, come back in one of the future ones.
So this is the other big, beefy auto scroller. So if you got a little bit more you want to plug, go for it.
For sure. We have a $20 donation from Uncle Greg and Aunt Vivian, which says, "Go Truman." I can see
Thank
you,
you.
like, visibly turning red right now.
I think this is the most amount of my family that has ever watched me do a speedrun, and thank you for that.
We have a $30 donation from Anonymous. And just a reminder, if you are donating, please put your donation towards any one of our many incentives. Would highly recommend the tower minigame from Shovel Knight, which still needs $775.
You can see why we let him read donations. There's literally nothing going on here.
I mean, did you see me stomp on those Koopas?
Your family's very proud of you.
It's pretty impressive. I would be, too.
Yeah, one thing I am actually sort of half trying to do is get a lot of points, because if you get enough, it'll actually lag the game less because of the way this game calculates score. So I'm trying to get roughly 1 million before the start of World 7. Not a huge deal, though.
I mean, those are frames you'll never get back if you don't get the score you need.
We have a $20 donation from Pyro, which says, "Okay, I admit it. I love you, okay?"
Is that an inside joke? That had such a narrow strike range.
Oh, no, it definitely
Yeah,
is.
No, it is.
I admit it, too.
That's more than I ever get out of Truman when I say it.
So I think I remember Akisto calculating at some time, one of the runners in the community, and I think it's something like 17% of the run is flying over levels. And if you think about how long that is as compared to the length of the entire run, you can see how it sort of adds up actually trying to optimize your flight speed to be as fast as possible. If it's 17% of, let's say roughly an hour 25, then, the difference between having a flight speed of 47 versus 51, even if that doesn't make sense to you what those numbers represent, you can kind of imagine how big of a difference it makes over the course of the whole run. Right there you saw him intentionally flying into enemies in order to get into that invulnerable state. You slowed down, you coward.
Yeah, I like to take it slow in that room because otherwise you just tend to run into some Potobos.
Yeah, you can really mess yourself up in that area.
Another impossible boss.
You make it look so easy, Truman.
Yeah, no, it took years to figure out how to shoot 2 fireballs and then jump on him.
It was a breakthrough for our community.
This hill is about to feel so bad.
Aw, poor Hill.
I've never seen a landmass get so owned.
It has a Band-Aid.
So coming up is the Forest of Illusion, and what makes this world unique in the game is that if you're sort of just playing through and trying to find the way to beat each level, it can actually be kind of hard to figure out how to even get out of this world. That's what it's designed to do, but the side effect of that for the speedrun is that almost every single level has 2 exits, and it's connected in sort of a weird way so that it can be actually kind of tough to figure out how to go through this world optimally so that you're not moving around on the overworld a whole bunch. Truman's going to be cheating his way into fake Yoshi wings again.
I'll be trying to. These ones are probably the most random. Alright, second try's not bad.
Pretty good.
So when I got that P-Balloon, that's not anything I can actually control. It's sort of just a 50-50 on what comes out of that block for some reason.
So this is probably the biggest time saving for getting out of bounds with Yoshi. It can be pretty tough to actually figure out how to manipulate it to make this work. He helps you, and then you just let him go like that, huh?
First try.
These tricks are a little bit inconsistent. Getting into the wall is not particularly tough, but there's not a lot Truman can actually do to control whether or not he gets out of bounds once he gets into the wall. There's some things you can do to increase your odds, but you can't actually control it fully. And so it becomes kind of a stressful element to these runs because once you get to that trick, your first try you can manipulate to do it a little better than other times, but if you miss it even once, then it's just completely random at that point.
Does he have to yump here too?
He does if he wants to,
Save
have a
half
good
an
run.
hour.
Aw, you had to bring it up, didn't you?
I wanted to sound smart.
I think you sound very smart.
Thank you, Off.
So even though it involves a little more going around in order to get another Yoshi, he is going to bring another Yoshi back to that level to get out of bounds again, just because of how much time it actually saves.
So besides blue and green, are there any other Yoshi colors in this game?
Yeah, so the colors are associated with the abilities that the Yoshi actually has. So green is standard, yellow is Yoshi can stomp, blue is wings, and red is spitting fire. And there's a color of Yoshi for each and every one of those abilities. And if the Yoshi is that color, then every shell they eat will have that power. He picked up those extra lives in case the run starts to go wrong. He's going to take this opportunity now to take that Yoshi he got back to the stage and try to go out of bounds again. As I mentioned before, Truman's done a really good job at being really consistent at getting out of bounds, or at least getting into the wall, which is the element that Truman can actually control. But unfortunately, it's not really in his power to affect it beyond that.
All right, not bad.
I just put too much pressure on you.
So like second try from the right is totally probably about average, so
Yeah.
not bad at all.
Do we have time for a couple quick donations?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Alrighty, so we've got $250 from Ten Machi. It says, hello from the audience. Glad to support such an awesome charity as Direct Relief, but really want to make Moo Moo climb the tower. And we have another $250 from the Sound Defense, which also says hi from the audience. Man, this is a rich room. I'm donating for the tower minigame in Shovel Knight. I assume it's a lot like the tower building game Sim Tower from the 90s, so I'm really excited. Actually, I did ask, and it is a 2 to 3 minute challenge where you use all the Spectre's mechanics to win. And basically, it's you go really fast, and it's hard, and it looks really cool. So you definitely want to donate for it. And by the way, we are at $525 out of our $800 requirement for the tower minigame. So make sure you get your donations in for that. And we also have a couple other donation incentives for Shovel Knight. Pet the Dog, which still needs $145, and the Armor Color Palette, which doesn't currently have any donations towards it. You can pick between orange, green, teal, purple, and cotton candy pink.
If you liked watching this level last time, you're going to love it this time. Because it's the same.
Was it the same exact exit there, or did he?
No.
No.
I went into a slightly different door than the first door I went into.
A door that looked exactly the same and took him to a room that looked exactly the same.
Not redundant, I swear.
But I mean, if you eat chocolate ice cream and you enjoy chocolate ice cream, and you're going to say no to chocolate ice cream the next time because you already had it?
That's a good point.
We have a $30 donation from Anonymous, which just says, cheers.
Remind me who it was that threw the key in that hole?
Was it Aaron?
I think it was Aaron. Aaron threw the key in the hole. And then he had to go in the hole.
That was scary.
Take two.
See, we really do remember stuff like that. Like the one dude who threw the key in the hole one time, and it's just Aaron's room now.
I guess the lesson to be learned here is never make any mistakes ever.
It's a good way to live.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of a unique thing about SMW. We're trying to not make mistakes, unlike every other speed game.
Well, when you've hit this level of optimization, the only way you can world record is by playing the game the right way.
Glitchless.
You take that back.
This is the last auto-scroller in the game, by the way. And it's just the first half of this level.
You might be thinking to yourself, I bet he can make the screen go faster, and he can't.
I mean, I'm pushing on it as hard as I can.
We have an $11.22 donation from Dennison again. cannot forget our two lovely couch commentators for Fiddle. There's the name Spaghetti in here a lot. I don't really know what I'm reading right now, but thank you very much for your donation.
Thank you so much, Dennison.
No, that wasn't Dennison. That was Dennison again. Two
Oh.
different people.
My mistake. I feel bad now.
That's an easy mistake to make, though.
All right, this is by far the worst boss fight in the game to die on, because there's no midway, so you do the auto-scroller again. So luckily that didn't happen.
We have a $20 donation from Skaven Grove, which says, "Nice hat." Can I spin the little spinny thing?
If you can reach me.
I'd be offended if you didn't. Here.
Not quite.
I'll help you.
Beautiful. And we have a $10 donation from Fiddle. Thank you very much.
I don't know how I did that.
I'm impressed.
So we're flying over this level a second time.
Yeah, but this time we're going to get the key exit.
Yeah, this time it's going to be slightly different. Instead of going through the end, he's going to go through the pipe. And it's going to blow your mind.
This is exhilarating.
See, look, it's different.
Don't disparage our speed game.
It was pretty crazy. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was skeptical, but
So this level should have been an auto-scroller. And I don't want to spoil it. Maybe Truman will do the auto-scroller. But he can also fly through this if he's willing to get a little brave here. Alright, that was spicy.
Yeah, and there's still the end.
Oh, you mean the actually hard part.
All right, that was really good.
Okay, that was really
well
good.
done.
I'm just trying to set the expectations low, but then you kind of blow it away.
You know, I really was thinking about taking the auto-scroller. I mean, what's 2 minutes?
I mean, you did save a half hour earlier with that yump.
That's true. You had the time to spare.
Yeah. Honestly, other than the raft skip debacle, this has been a very solid run so far.
Well, to be fair, you went for raft skip, which was maybe not a trick I would have... I asked Truman before the actual run, we were sitting in the practice room, and I asked him, but are you going to do raft skip? And it was just a joke, because you'd have to be a real idiot to go for raft skip. And he said, yes, I'm going to go for it. And so then I kind of knew how this run was going to go.
Who would have thought?
So this is actually another instance of the trick that we were talking about before, where if your flight timer is still active when you go through a pipe, you can just jump on the other end of it. But instead, this time, he's going to get shot out of a cannon. And if you get shot out of a cannon, you go way faster than you can actually run or fly in this game. And so he's maintaining his flight with this real fast speed, which is real good.
Yeah, so the thing about speed in SMW is if you don't touch right, it doesn't change. So if I were to just touch right at all, you'd go back to like normal speeds. And same for when you like lock in a flight speed, it will change if you touch right. So you just try and avoid right if possible in the air.
This stage is a little harder than it ends up looking. He's going to fly above the stage, but actually it turns out that there's about midway through this level an obstacle that he has to fly under while making sure he's actually high enough to not run into the fish and boo. It's pretty challenging.
I wasn't liking the looks of that setup.
Yeah, me either. Nicely done.
That little trick there at the end through the blue laser is called Sagan Hop. Shoutouts to Carl Sagan.
Did those dinosaurs have a name? Or are they just dinosaurs?
These ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Dino Rhino and Dino Torch. I didn't think I was going to get quizzed on the bestiary, but I was prepared nonetheless. I studied.
Good, I was just testing you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
We should probably explain how that level works next time we show up in there.
Yeah, we'll see. I felt like you might have wanted to surprise people.
What was the reason for that spring?
If you don't have a cape, you can't make that.
Yeah, you've had the cape for so long, I just sort of forgot that you don't always have it.
Yeah, it turns out if he gets hit, he loses it too. So it's ever so slightly faster for him to fly through this room. This run ends up being very focused on figuring out how to get flight speed really early in these rooms. So even if that's not maybe the fastest way to start off a room, if you can figure out a way to get flight speed really early, then you can end up actually just being able to fly through the whole stage, which is nice in a level like this where you otherwise have to just jump through the platforms that are sinking into lava. We're going to take this opportunity to get another cape. It's kind of specific the way this works. The very first room in this level, when you go through the pipe, it actually decides where to take you based on how many coins you picked up in that first room. So he gets all those extra coins, so he gets this different second room that has a cape in it. And it turns out that that doesn't actually waste any time because of the fact that this second pipe, you actually have to wait at it. The place that you go to in the next room depends on what time is on the clock when you go through the pipe. So he's actually going to try to go through at 2:49, which is as fast as you can go. If he went in 1 second earlier, it would be a completely different room.
Got time for a quick donation?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Someone's apparently pretty impressed with your cape flying because we have a $10 donation from Toodler Fiber 7, which says, "You become quite a pilot." We have a $40 anonymous donation, which says, "Love the schedule. Can't wait to see some of the races." And we have a $25 donation from Dan, which says, "Truman, you would not believe your eyes. It wasn't on the menu, but I got you a large Dunkachino."
Thank you, Dan.
I thought they stopped serving those in the 90s.
They're not actually on the menu, but you can get them still. Which I learned because that quote actually happened, and then I turned around to see what he had, and then face planted into a pit of lava in this game.
I'm sorry, there's so much to that story I want to unpack.
Well, it's now called the Dunkachino pit, so that's one thing. Alright, and I think this was the last pure flyover in the entire game.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any more levels where he's going to I don't want to use the word effortlessly, but just fly over and avoid all the obstacles. From here on out, any flying that he's going to do is going to be relatively technical. And I guess to show that off is one of the more fun flying levels in this game, and that's Chocolate Fortress.
I assume it's called that because of the color of the walls.
Yeah, so this is Chocolate Island is the world that he's in. That is a very tough room, by the way, to do that fast. That is really, really technically challenging. This fortress is very, very tough to do optimally. And Truman is, you know, all my jokes aside, making this run look really effortless. It's hard for me to sell how technically difficult this game is, because Truman does make a lot of this look really easy. You know, with the exception of that one death on a very challenging trick he did, raft skip, this run has been going really smoothly.
Yeah, the saddest part of that trick is that it saves like maybe 5 seconds. And it cost me like a minute and a half. But that's speedrunning. Probably my favorite level in the game that I just did because of all the spin fly manipulation. You gotta really keep flight throughout the entire level to do it fast at all.
Yeah, when done properly, the speedrun can sometimes be hard to see what is difficult about it, but a lot of these techniques and strats are pretty challenging to get right. Better be careful with all those bonus stars.
Yeah, you know, maybe I'll get a bonus game, who knows? Keep it exciting.
So there he actually abused the damage boost he had taken off of one of the saw blades in order to get through one of the crushers a little early, which sets up that room really well. And then here it's all about manipulating his flight speed and maintaining the flight trigger, or whatever you'd like to refer to it as, in order to keep flight through that whole room, which can actually be really tough to do. This is probably, I would imagine, if any of the bosses could be considered difficult, this would be the closest one to being allowed to be called difficult. Just sort of keeping track of which Windy you're going to have to attack and avoiding those fireballs that are flying around.
Yeah, this in World 3 with all the fireballs and pipes and randomness are definitely the hardest. That was a pretty decent World 6, though.
Yeah, that was really solid. So now he's going to be doing Sunken Ghost Ship and then heading into World 7, which actually has a pretty good concentration of tough stages, tough tricks to do. So I'm sure he'll make those look easy as well.
And if you're just tuning in, we are Calithon 2019, benefiting Direct Relief, who provides humanitarian aid to more than 80 countries and all 50 states.
This level sort of pays a fun homage to Super Mario Bros. 3. It's very similar to the airships that are at the end of every world in Super Mario Bros. 3, but this one happens to be a crashed one that's underwater, and the level even ends with picking up the same goal orbs that you pick up in Super Mario Bros. 3 when you beat some of the bosses. He's doing a very specific manipulation here. He wants this boo cloud to disappear right as one of those boo rings would have appeared, and it actually causes it to despawn instantly.
Yeah, there were supposed to be 2 of those, like the one I just passed through, but I despawned it.
Again, just more of an example of where when you play this game properly, it's almost hard to point out what is difficult. There's a lot of really cool things that he's doing that you almost can't see. You need someone telling you all the stuff he's skipping. He's got this shell in his mouth, actually, in order to try to cut down on some of the lag in this room. There's a ton of lag that can be caused by the enemies that stay on screen here.
Orb.
Orb.
All right, but that's it. That's the only time y'all are allowed to say that.
We have a $10 donation from Yoshizilla, which says, "Hey Calithon, so hyped to see you all on Saturday. Good luck to you, Truman, and the rest of the runners. Let's do that 50K." Which, by the way, we do have a run incentive for $40,000 for Super Mario 64 70 star. If we raise it before that run, we will be, I guess, upgrading the run from a 16 star to a 70 star run. So make sure to get your donations in so that we can see that.
Nice stage.
Yeah, 63 pipes, very good. Any better would require some weird strats. Weird individual level strats.
You'd hate to do anything weird in a speedrun.
Yeah. This game's got a crazy dedicated, like, small subsection for ILs that involves a lot of the nutty stuff you can do with the cape.
You can imagine how hard it must be to optimize ILs because the timer, it's very slow to count down, so saving a whole second so you can actually see the difference would take a lot. Fortunately, this game has a really great practice cart that was made by Dots Are Cool. It's probably one of the earlier practice carts in our community for anyone who's a speedrunner and is familiar with how popular practice carts have become, but it has a lot of really great features, and one of those is actually allowing you to see the number of frames and partial seconds on levels.
Shout out to Dots if you're watching. We should get Melt again sometime.
Saved it.
Yeah, for that level you're supposed to do something very different in order to get up to that key, but it actually turns out that if you fly at it in the right way, you can slip through there a lot easier. Nice. So we've got a few levels left, then Castle 7, and then a few more levels and Bowser. So we're rounding out on the end, and this is where a lot of these stages become a lot more difficult. We're going to see a few more where the level of optimization is very different from earlier in the run, because earlier in the run we were able to fly over a lot of the levels. But for these, they're usually a lot tighter spaces. It's a lot harder to optimize them efficiently. So.
Now I need this Yoshi here because next level actually has sort of a unique feature in that Yoshi is required to get the secret exit. For reasons that you'll see.
I'm going to break Oth's rule from before. We have a $55 donation from Mr. Cab55, which says Orb.
All right, that's okay. There's a little bit of a delay. Mr. Cab probably said it at the same time everyone else did.
As long as you donate within the next, couple minutes, you're probably fine.
Okay. I promise to make a less pained face than I will make otherwise. And that was a lot of backup strats in a row, and if I didn't say anything, no one would ever know that you made any mistakes.
Well, the funny thing is that those weren't backup strats. We this new meta for that level is to just not touch any slopes ever.
Man, Y'all are weird.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I was just doing the level how I used to do it, and they're like, what are you doing? And it turns out I missed an entire meta shift.
It's tough to keep up with this game. Oh, I see what you're talking about. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's really different, but touching slopes slows you down.
I get it. I don't have to like it. So the first room of this castle is relatively straightforward. It's similar to the sorts of things that we've seen before. Not easy, but it's relatively straightforward. The second room is probably the most technical room in the run. It's up there at least. So he scrolled the screen because the way the camera moves can make a huge difference in the way that this game ends up ending up. The way enemies spawn based on the camera makes a huge difference. Should I tell him that you did that exactly as planned?
Yeah, sure. I did that exactly as planned. Don't check.
Nice. Don't look that up.
That got real scary.
Honestly, the problem with that room is that anytime you go off script, it's a real mess because Magikoopa is awful. And so that was actually really clean, all things considered.
Yeah, you get blocked by all the walls if you're not going through them fast, and then the pencils also block you, and then Magikoopa's all over the place.
Yeah, if you get slowed down at any point, it's fairly likely that Magikoopa is going to spawn right in front of you and mess something up. So, all things considered, that went really well. 8 out of 10.
He did it.
So he did the really hard trick,
Yeah, I did the hard part.
but unfortunately, if it doesn't go exactly the right way, it doesn't actually save any time.
However, I didn't die, which always saves time.
Dying is slower, it turns out.
Yeah, that trick will kill you if you mess it up in the way that I'm doing it. There's a sort of safe setup, but even that's not completely safe.
Yeah, he had a 2-frame window to get out of bounds there in the sandbar, and if you can maintain your full running speed, you can actually skip a full cycle of this. It takes about, I think, 17 seconds for it to go up and down. It's something like that, 12 seconds, 17 seconds?
I think it's
something like
around 13.
that. Okay, 13. And so you end up saving a full cycle if you end up skipping it. But boy, does it just kill you if you do it wrong.
This is fine.
Well, usually failure here is catastrophic, so that went really well.
Yeah, usually failure there is instant death, so I survived, so everything's fine.
We count those. That was good.
We take those.
If you can't see anything, don't worry, he can't either.
Yeah. So this does not actually count as an exit, but beating Bowser is a requirement for the category. So we've already done all 96 exits.
So really what you're saying is they could have already stopped the timer.
Oh yeah, we're already done. This is bonus.
So I guess while Truman's wrapping this up, this fight's not easy, but it's not awful. I do want to say that this, I guess this is a good time to thank the community. The Super Mario World community's done a really good job at making this game really accessible. There's a lot of really great material out there, as we mentioned before. We've got a Discord filled with people who are really helpful and will help you figure out how to run this game. If you're thinking about getting into speedrunning, there's always people who end up watching these marathons because they enjoy watching speedruns, but they think, I could never do this, or it's probably too hard, it would take too much time. This is a really good game to get started with, and maybe you'll like it, and maybe you'll want to, see if you can beat Truman's time. Maybe this game turns out not to be for you, but once you've played one and learned one, it's really easy to get into other games, so I recommend that you give it a shot.
All right, time's coming up.
Yeah.
And
Time.
time.
Nice. Well done.
Well done.
Thank you. That's a fairly solid time. That's better than a lot of the no reset runs I was doing to prepare. And like I said, I lost a minute and a half, 20 minutes into the run. So that's actually pretty solid.
That was a really, really solid run.
And yeah, like Oth said, SMW is a very good game to get into. I might not look like it, especially in this hat, but I'm approaching like 6 years in the community, and I wouldn't have stuck around this long if it wasn't the best speedrunning community, in my opinion.
Don't Google that. We can't.
Slight bias.
Okay. Well, big thanks to Calithon for allowing us to show this off as the opener. It's a game that we're really excited about, and really excited about the rest of what Calithon has to show. Thanks for having Truman here. Thanks for having us here. Thanks for letting us show what we love about this game, and there's a lot more exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah, thanks everyone, and thanks Direct Relief for even having us in the building. This was a lot of fun, and I'm glad I got to do it.
And I'm glad I got to come along. So.
All right, I think that's it from us.
Yep.